Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dinner time is here. That's right, we're talking about episode 2 of season 3 of Hannibal on Dish by Dish. Greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from the beautiful city walls of Florence. This is the Dish by Dish, a Hannibal rewatch project, a side gig here for us at Kill by Kill in between our main feed episodes where we talk about an episode of Hannibal we just rewatched. We're talking about episode 2, Primavera, which is a pasta dish made with lightly sauteed spring vegetables. And of course, there's only one person I trust to find those vegetables to saute, the one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing, Gina?
I love a good veggie.
I know, especially, if you do it right. Okay, my favorite way of veggies really is oven roasting. I like the roast approach to it, but a good saute is probably second.
Yeah, other than like boiling the color out of them, there's no bad way to prepare like broccoli, for instance.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. That is the boiling the color out of them was my mom's version of cooking vegetables.
Mine too. I didn't have a decently cooked vegetable until I was like 20 years old.
In the last Dish by Dish, we talked about asparagus at length because what else are we going to talk about on Dish by Dish? But I still throw up in my mouth a little bit when I eat asparagus, primarily due to how my mother prepared asparagus.
It's just this limp penis of an asparagus.
Yes. Yeah. And not even limp like in 9.5 weeks where it's still kind of sexy. I mean, gross. It's that movie's hard to take for a lot of reasons.
Mostly because I just don't buy that anybody has a Jell-O mold ready to eat in the refrigerator.
She has a lot of home cooked food in her own refrigerator
for living by herself. Like she said, like a Jell-O mold.
Yeah, yeah, it's a weird one. So we're talking about episode 2 here today. Last episode, it was very heavy to the exclusion of almost everyone else, Hannibal and Bedelia. Now we're headed over to the other half of the murder husbands, Will Graham, to see what has happened in his life, both as he was almost killed and after. And this has got to be one of the bloodiest sequences ever broadcast on network TV. I think the only thing that even comes close to it is Dan Aykroyd's Julia Child's SNL sketch where he severs an artery in his hand and just sprays blood everywhere for 2 full minutes. Like, that is almost to this level.
Yeah. Yeah, and if they don't have, as if like everybody's various stab wounds and slash wounds don't produce enough blood, you basically get like the Overlook Hotel blood elevator opening up.
Yeah, where the carcass of the horny guy just becomes a shining level bloodbath, and for the second episode in a row, we see someone drowning. Now, in Bedelia's case, it was bathwater, but in Will's case, it is blood. Will it keep up in episode 3? I don't know. We'll have to see and find out.
I do love that we are skipping ahead a little bit, but I didn't want to forget to mention how very much an homage to The Shining that scene is, because you've got like the room filling with blood, and then you've got the very like Wendy Carlos-esque score playing. It's felt like, okay, I've seen that movie.
Yes. Well, he's not above a movie reference. I mean, in the last episode, he pulled it just before dawning. So this is maybe a tad more highbrow, but it's not the first Shining reference the show has made, and it won't be the last. I forgot, because I have not watched this since the original broadcast. I forgot that Abigail resurfaces in this particular episode. And I initially wrote down, are you telling me she's still alive and not in handcuffs, before I mentally caught up to, this has happened before, dummy. Like, she lives in his head.
You forgot that she appears in one more episode?
Yeah.
Is it the same actress? Because it does not look like the same actress.
It is the same actress. She does appear to be wearing a very different wig, whereas it was her hair previous to this, whereas now it is sitting on top of her hair. So there's a fair amount of distance between her actual scalp and the hair that we're seeing.
Yeah, you get that when she appears in Will's hospital room. She's fine. She's got a little patch, little bandage on her neck. Even though
it's oopsie doodle.
Even though her neck was her throat was slashed from ear to ear.
Yeah,
and you kind of know that there's some bullshit happening when she basically tells Will, "Oh, he's a surgeon. He knew where to cut so he wouldn't die."
Certainly looked like you were dying when blood was pumping out through his fucking hands. So.
Yeah, I'm like, okay. I think this is not really happening.
Yeah. And he's like, do you still want to like go away with Hannibal and us to be a murder family? And just kind of like, yeah, I thought it sounded like a cool plan to me. And then straight out of Lifetime, 8 months later. I have not been to the Norman Chapel in Palermo, Italy. I've never made it as far south as Palermo. I've been a little north, and I've been to some of the hot spots in the middle, but not Palermo, unless I'm getting Palermo's location wrong. But I have not been to Palermo, so I don't know where the fuck it is, other than the fact it's in Italy. But it looks like a lovely church. And of course, inside of the Norman church is this gigantic heart made out of a dead carcass of a human body. Stacking Hearts, the new game from Whamco. And again, I have to ask you, Hannibal has traveled via train with an entire fucking body in a suitcase. And now we learn 3 fucking swords, unless he picked up the swords in town at the local sword mart.
I feel like he would know like the best antique shops. You know, he's looking up on Yelp. although I guess if he's in Italy, it'll be La Yelp.
Yelpa. A Yelpa, the spaghetti store, huh? What other kind of just hateful stereotypes can I just rip off my Mario level fucking Italian accent? My apologies to all the wonderful people.
I'm sitting here making the capiche gesture right now.
So yeah, we find that Will has shown up there in advance because he had a conversation with Hannibal. I believe in season 2 is where he says that he has a mind palace where he can just go to, where all these wonderful locations he's been to in his life, he can recreate there. And so he's like, aha, I'll just go to this place and just hang out until he shows up. And wouldn't you know it, like a day or 2 later, there's a giant fucking heart on top of 3 swords. We're going to go inside baseball. Generally, I don't talk about future projects, but by the time this hits, this has already been announced in the trades, but ABC is going to have a game show called The Final Straw. And the whole point of the game show is it's basically a giant kind of Jenga-like tower of things, not blocks, but actual things. And so we had to write up all of these special shoot ideas and social media ideas for it. And all I could think of is none of those things involve a human carcass that's all folded up into a heart on top of 3 swords. That's very difficult to win that Jenga game.
Well, then I'm not going to watch it.
But Gina, we made a deal. Whenever I work on a TV show, you have to fucking watch it.
All right, I'll put it on, but I'll leave the room.
Still counts, baby.
I'm not watching a game show unless it involves a human origami.
And it is here at the human origami reveal that we meet Inspector Ronaldo Pazzi. And if you were thinking,
if you read the book, you know that things will not end well for him.
No. To say that he's hung by his own petard is only half true. If you're thinking, is he going to be different than other Hannibal characters? You're half right. He whispers just like everyone else on the show, only with an Italian accent.
I was gonna say, yes, he has an accent.
It appears that Will has shown up in town just as Hannibal has publicly displayed his first victim. So again, his luck always coming up aces. And Pazzi here, and I don't remember this from Hannibal in particular. Maybe it is there because he believes that whoever did this was also a killer that he had hunted 20 years previous called Il Mostro of Florence.
Which is actually a real like bird serial killer case.
Yes. Il Mostro de Frisi was a serial killer who struck basically around the city, in the quieter areas around the city, not in the actual city. He killed up to 14 people that we know of from 1974 to 1985. He operated a lot like Son of Sam. So he kind of did that thing where you kill a couple people in a car who were making out on the outskirts of town. But he would go the extra mile to then drag the woman out and completely mutilate them. One of his first victims, they noted over 100 stab wounds. He just would go kill crazy. So just to put this in context of how grounded Pazzi is in this version of the event, the main detective in the real life case became convinced that these murders were not the work of a single person, but a satanic cult. Because that's what Italian cops do in major cases. They come up with the most asinine fucking theory possible and just build all their evidence around this, to the point where when it was investigated by an author and a local journalist, he ended up harassing them and trying to jail them for the murders for investigating it. One of the authors in there is the guy who wrote Relic, the giant monster in the New York Museum movie.
Is that right?
Yes.
I have seen that movie.
Like, did you? Because it's very dark. It's hard to see that movie.
I mean, I put it on a television and I was in the room when it was on.
Yeah.
I could not tell you anything that I think I remember about it. I'm like, wait, no, that was Mimic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I had to. Ollie asked about the differences between Relic and Mimic. Like somehow he heard about Mimic. He's like, what's Mimic about? It's like bugs who look like humans to lure humans into a giant tunnel, but it's not Midnight Meat Train. That's different insects.
Oh no, Mimic's fucking horrifying. I mean, it's probably my least favorite Del Toro movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you're looking for just a straight gross out movie, that's the ticket.
Yes, very much so. Despite the fact it was fucked with endlessly by that pair whose name shall not be mentioned.
Well, yes.
So Pazzi decides to use Will for his own ends here. He's gonna pull an FBI. He's gonna get him to the crime scene, give him a bunch of photos, and go self-hypnotize yourself.
Do your thing, baby.
Do your crazy eye thing, womp, 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 which we don't get this time. That seems to have gone away. But he casts his mind back and has a monologue in front of this giant human-sized fucking heart. We learned that the Anthony's, although he doesn't know it's Anthony, his head, his lower arms and lower legs have been severed in order to fold him in this direction. And also all of his bones have been pulverized.
Yeah, well, you got we talked in the last episode about packing a suitcase. You have to prepare. You have to make room. You have to, size down. You have to, economize.
Do you think he had a shoulder strap on that suitcase, or is he just lugging it with one arm? Because Anthony was a tall guy. He was taller than Hannibal. So
do you think he had like a little knitted sock to like attach to the suitcase to mark it as his?
what's on the little marker tag?
Yeah.
Like mine is a little blue plastic thing that says I'm a mess on the inside. Like what is Hannibal's little tag? What ribbon, decorative ribbon does he tie to it?
Exactly. He's got a little Mickey Mouse head or something like that.
Right. This is Dr. Florence just asked for me. Everyone knows I'm here.
Yeah.
I can only imagine a porter is like, let me help you with that. And like lugging it up like, what the fuck did you pack in here? Like, what is your excuse for a suitcase that weighs as much as a human being minus a head and some extended limbs?
Why is this dripping?
Is he packaging him in plastic beforehand? I guess how do you pack a human body in a suitcase?
Well, you use one. He might also have like an industrial size, like those air compressor thing where you store food and it like sucks the air out of it.
Sure. Sure. Where you use your shop vac to suck the air out of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now we're back to packing suitcases again.
We're back to packing suitcases
because you could put like 16 shirts into one of these things, and then put the vacuum cleaner on. It's like the size of a padded envelope afterwards.
My next food story of Florence, just because the rest of the episode is basically almost entirely inside of Will's head, and then it goes into a basement. But we went across the bridge to a local wine shop. We were there off season. And this guy was so enthralled that he had two Americans, and I don't know why. Well, actually I do know why. Because his eldest daughter had been accepted to UCLA and had gone to UCLA. So he's like, oh my God, two people from Los Angeles. My daughter's going to UCLA. We're like on the other side of town. But he was so thrilled with it that he kept, it was supposed to be a 6 taster, wine thing. He ended up giving us each 14 glasses of wine.
Oh my God.
And I'm not talking sample size. I'm talking full fucking glasses of wine. By the time I hit glass 9, it was no longer wine. It was liquid. it was red liquid. And I just, when else was I going to do this? And I just kept drinking. And we were so very drunk by the time we left there. And this is before we had a cell phone that A, could operate in Europe, and B, had a map on it or any of that shit. We just kind of had to go with the map I had in my pocket. Now, this is when we get to the point where Becky has reached a level of drunk where she no longer trusts me. It is rare. It has very rarely happened, but she can reach a level of drunk that she's like, I don't know that you know what you're talking about. I don't trust you. One time, she had gotten very drunk and I had not. And she's like, please go get me Taco Bell because I need grease in my stomach. I'm like, absolutely. I went out and I got her Taco Bell. I think we were in Kansas City. And I bring it back to her. She's like, why don't you like your Taco Bell? What
did you put in this?
What did you put in it? Like she doesn't. Yeah, it was a whole thing. And it's just at a very specific level of drunk. Now here it was, I don't trust you to get us back to our hotel. But luckily where the bridge let off, when you walked through the next palazzo was right back to one of the Basilica of Santa Maria Novella from that we talked about in episode 1, where I'd had that excellent tripe sandwich. So I'm like, I had the tripe sandwich right here. We just go up over here and then left and then right and then up the main thoroughfare. and we're right at our hotel. And we did get there. But the entire time she's like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. We're lost. Just ask somebody. So I'm like, okay. I asked somebody. He's like, yeah, you go up there. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Confirmed. And she didn't like that at all.
It's like, can you tell her I'm right, please?
Well, at this, like, I don't, we're in a strange city we've only been in for a day and a half. It's not like I've got this joint memorized, but I at least knew where we had been. So if I hit the places where we had been, I knew I could get us back to the thoroughfare, which if you kept walking, our hotel would inevitably be on the right. So
before we move on to a lot of Will talking to what's her face, did you think the scene in which the human heart essentially unfolds itself and develops antlers, because we're not getting away without any antler imagery this season.
Horny guy's got to be there. That's a part of the show.
It's probably one of the most horrifying things I've seen on this show so far, and I've seen a lot of horrifying things on this show.
Yes, it is really gross. It is really, really disturbing. And the fact that it's so thin, like you realize that he had to carve a lot away, that it's pared down, right? That it's like a deer carcass. Oh, God. It's so gross, man. It's so gross.
It really is.
And I love that for it. Did you end up seeing antlers?
I did.
Yeah. This is the closest to antlers. This reminded, when I saw antlers, I'm like, where have I seen something like this before?
Yeah, I could see that. I would agree with that.
They're not the same. They're kissing cousins, that sort of deal. They're obviously all coming from some sort of source, but yes. And the way it happens and the way it stalks and the way he backs up and the way he silently cries, like all of it is like, this dude is haunted. He's haunted literally by a lot of this. And you have to wonder why he's getting back in the game.
Because it's all he knows how to do.
That's true.
What's he going to do? Get a job and go to a nice quiet bookstore? Exactly. He's going to lose customers. He's just standing there like y'all, just be sweating and shaking constantly.
He does know how to fix boat motors.
He's good with dogs.
Yes. So dog sitter would be a perfectly understandable job for him if that's the way he wanted to go. But he's decided to go to Italy and get back into the Finding Hannibal business, even though it almost killed him last time. And as such, this Italian inspector is like, listen, every time you show up, dead bodies arrive. And you were almost jailed for the rest of your life because of it. Maybe you should stop doing this. And he's like, maybe you should stop doing this. You're going to end up dead. And they decide to go down to the catacombs. And this is where we have a lot of hide and go seek of trying to find Hannibal, all for eventually the big moment where Will says, I forgive you, which really?
I love the lighting in this scene, where it looks like he's got like little devil wings popping out of his back. These two little red things of light behind him.
No, it's very well directed. The first 3 episodes of this were all directed by Vincenzo Natali, who you might know from things like Splice. He had a lot of big movies that didn't quite go, but he is a very moody director, and he adds an insane amount of atmosphere to every second of all the episodes he directs on Hannibal. He's great at it, and he directed the season finale of season 2.
He likes the blood. He likes the blood.
He doesn't shy away from it, and NBC can't say shit about it. So it's just a blood-tacular all over the place. And of course, we learn over the course of this confrontation that Abigail is once again not alive. This time, not a fake out. She's really dead. And Will is heartbroken all over again.
Yeah, his reaction about her is very interesting. It's a little bit fatherly, but it's a little bit romantically too. You know, the way that they kind of, you know, interact with each other. It's like, you know, he's kind of letting go of a lost love.
Yeah. It's a weird one. It really is. I mean, I think at this point, everyone has a semi-sexual attraction to everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, you could kind of skate by on the fact that it's not entirely clear. I don't think how old Abigail is. Yeah,
but this is happening, I guess. Time moves weirdly in this show. So let's say it's at the end of season 2, it's a couple years after.
So she's like she's like 19 or 20, let's say, for argument's sake. But
when she was helping her dad, again, she should be in cuffs. When she was helping her dad lure college-age women, she was like, "Hey, I'm going to that college. I'm going on a college tour with my dad." So, maybe she's 20 when she finally bites it. Was she down in the basement of Hannibal's place?
I don't know. I don't know where he was keeping her hidden all this time.
We'll probably never learn. But
you know, as we see with Miriam Lass, he loves nothing more than hiding ladies.
He does, but that's a very crowded basement at this point. I guess he moves into Miriam's room because at that point it would maybe it wouldn't be vacant. But and Abel's down there. There's a shit ton of people hanging out in the fucking basement.
They're just chatting like, "Hey, got you too, huh?"
Yeah, like you can't trust them with the second floor. Oh shit. It's a lot of people in one person's basement, and he's got all the cold storage, and he's got a jail cell. There's a shit ton of stuff down there. Wow. Not only can Hannibal pack well, but he can pack his own house well.
He's just efficient in every possible way.
Truly. But he does not respond to Will about that forgiveness. He kind of like, okay, maybe I don't forgive you back. And wanders away, and Will's like, okay, see you later. And that's your episode, baby. From stem to stern. That's what you got. It's definitely not as fun as episode 1.
No, and I one of the more heartbreaking moments was the once it is evident that Abigail's actually dead, we get a sort of interesting montage of Will being treated for his wounds and Abigail basically being prepared by a mortician.
Yeah, that he's still alive, but is he? And she's still alive, but isn't. It's a very interesting sequence. It's very well photographed and very well done. It's not as wackadoo when it comes to the psychedelia in this particular.
No, like I think they're going for straight emotion in this scene.
Yeah.
Because I think his feelings for her, whether they are fatherly or otherwise, I think they were as pure as Will is capable for feeling it for anyone, without like a lot of the complications he might have with having whatever attraction he has to Hannibal. I mean, I don't think it's love in the way that we would think of love is, and I don't know that he loves. Oh my God, I'm losing track of all these. Alana. I don't think I don't think he loves her so much he wants to sleep with her. I mean, he may have warm feelings for her in that regard, but I think that he cares about Abigail and and feels responsible for her now twice by his estimation death.
Yeah. And, we have that whole taking in strays attitude that he's had.
Right.
Certainly that's the way they portray it in season 1, that he knows that she has a terrible upbringing and that it's very possible she was involved in terrible things, but does that in fact make her a terrible person? And he would very much like to prove that she can be better. And so I think to me, whether or not they just want to sleep with one another is more that they're so fucking attractive. And of course, everyone in the show is so fucking attractive that it just looks like everyone wants to sleep with one another.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. Everybody is just constantly simmering with sexual tension.
Very true. So that just about does it. Josh, I wish we could do choose your own death venture, but no one actually dies.
I mean, you see Abigail die again, but technically she was murdered at the end of season two.
Yeah. And really kind of like the same way she was supposed to have bit it before. So what are you going to do? We've talked about her death a lot. And the guy who's turned into a heart, we talked about him in the previous episode. We're still talking about death, but there's no actual death. So that just about does it. Josh Hollis does our artwork, and Revenge Body does all of our music. You can go to bandcamp.com and enter Revenge Body and find all of our main feed tunes and remixes. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net. By the time this goes up, I will have reviewed the Hulu miniseries Candy and Pistol, which is apparently a miniseries about the creation of the Sex Pistols.
Oh,
very, very timely. Okay. 40 years later.
Well, and I wish there was like a documentary about the Sex Pistols, but I fear there's only been 15 of them, all directed by the same guy. That being said, I don't know exactly what's happening next week, but something fun. It'll be a main feed ep. And of course, on our Patreon, this month was a listener choice for our mid-month episode. And of course, at the end here of May, we'll have our Halloween resurrection commentary. So you have all that kung fu red wine action to look forward to the nascent internet. Oh boy.
Yeah.
H2O moves so fast. That wasn't really the worst. It's just a weird movie.
I never thought I would look forward to watching the Rob Zombie Halloweens, but I'm looking forward to watching the Rob Zombie Halloweens. Because we really need some grubby juice injected into the franchise at this point.
We really need to sleaze it up. And you're going to get it, baby. It's a whole bucket full of sleaze. June and July are sleaze-tacular. So that just about does it for us. Don't worry, folks. The body count and dinner will continue for myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.